Welcome to the Parallel Press. I'm Aiden,
I'm James.
and we're here to break down the 2022 Winter Cup.
Woohoo! Yeah, here we have a list of all the guys who qualified for the national team. So you have some guys, some veterans who've been there before, such as your Brody Malone, your Steven Nedorozic, your Alec Yoder, Shane Wiskus, but you also have a couple of new guys too, who are still really young. You have Coy Young, who's a freshman at Stanford, and then you have guys like Asher Hong, who's still a senior in high school, who's actually going to Stanford in the fall of this upcoming year, who also made the national team, which just shows all the depth and talent we have in this country.
So the top 5 guys in this competition were Vitaly, Coy, Asher, Colt Walker, as well as obviously Yul Moldauer. So yeah, we had 5 guys in the all-around that were automatic spots, and we also had some guys petition like Shane Wiskus, who unfortunately couldn't make the competition due to injury. Also, Brody Malone and Steven Nedorozic qualified due to the World Cup.
Yeah, so looking back on what we learned from this meet, we didn't really learn too much. Like we saw that a lot of the top guys come out and perform how we expected them to perform. For the most part, there were some flaws, but that just happens in gymnastics, Specifically Asher, who we still see he has high difficulty, but he tends to fall at least on one event per meet, and as well as Yule, we can't really trust him on pommel horse or high bar just yet, which is unfortunate because I picked him on pommel and you picked him on high bar, Aiden.
The Asher Hong, I noticed throughout his whole JO career, he obviously has that difficulty, but there's always one event for Asher that he's gonna make a mistake on. He might end up falling off of it. With Yule, we noticed last year he started to become more consistent on the pommel horse, but that old trend just came back, and we just can't trust him on the pommel horse yet. Yule on the high bar, we saw him to increase his difficulty, which is good, but he just still can't hit that routine yet. In some of the smaller meets this season so far for Yule, he has hit his high bar routine, but in the bigger competitions like the Winter Cup this past weekend, we just learned that we can't trust him. So we didn't learn much because that was an old trend for Yule. It's just still coming back to haunt him.
Yeah. Well, one of the things we did learn is that OU, it's always safe. They're always safe and clean.
Yeah.
Their guys are going to come out. They'll hit a nice set, which is one of the reasons why I chose Vitaly on the floor. And he came out, put up a 14.25, one of the highest scores on the floor. Was it the highest? Do you know, Aiden?
It was definitely one of the highest scores. I'm not sure exactly where he ranked on that. But then we also had some continuously bad coverage from NBC. We had guys like Tim Daggett and as well as his partner. Mainly Tim Daggett was complaining about the new bonus system, which I agree it can be a little confusing. But the least NBC could have done to avoid some of that confusion is add the bonus value into the scorecards. They just still had the difficulty in execution, which clearly did not add up to the final score if there was an athlete that had the difficulty bonuses.
Right. And they also missed a lot of great routines, such as
the Coy Young pommel horse and Curran Phillips P-bars. I thought were the 2 worst routines that NBC missed. So yeah, there were some positive takeaways from this meet. Guys like Vitaly Guimaraes and Coy Young really had a breakout meet, earned top 2 in the all-around total. Also, Yul Moldauer, still pushing his difficulty, which is good. The committee wants to see some more difficulty in this country, which is great. But we still just can't trust him, as we mentioned earlier. Stanford's vaults is also a great takeaway. Stanford had a huge vault rotation on both day 1 and day 2. They stuck a lot of their vaults, and Stanford, they really have a lot of difficulty in their vaults. They're not just doing the 5.2s like most college teams are doing. Some 5.4s with Taylor and Coy, I know. Then Curran has an amazingly clean 5.2 star value vault. So just great vault rotations there from Stanford.
Yeah, and NBC also came out and they showed a lot more routines. They had shorter commercial breaks, making sure that the fans were able to see more and more of the action, see all these young athletes perform their routines. And another thing we noticed is that Asher Hong, no matter how tired he looks when he's doing his routine, he's always going to come out and bring a great dismount. You see it on his rings with his double-double laid out, or on high bar with his, laid out double-double. No matter where he is, he's always going to bring the energy on his dismount, and he's always going to make his dismount look good. And one more cool thing to mention is that Toby Liang from Roswell, Georgia, who both Aiden and I competed against in JOs, won all-around between all juniors, who was competing against seniors.
There were some bad moments in this competition. Right, we saw Yule on day 1 only do a double full vault for some reason. We noticed so far at the smaller meets that he competed at this year, the vault scores were low for him, but we didn't have any videos. And we saw on day 1 he only did a double full, which is pretty confusing. But we also had some major irony with Vitaly winning this competition because of all the difficulty bonuses that were added. And the irony of Vitaly Guimaraes, who's known for being safe and clean like all the other OU guys, him coming out on top in a competition with difficulty bonuses is just really ironic, I thought.
Yeah, and then you have instances where Tim Daggett came out. He forgot to mention, all the other athletes that were here. He did mention that Brody Malone was not here, but he forgot about all these other great athletes. He didn't mention that. He didn't talk about Shane Wiskus, Donnell Wittenberg, Cameron Bach, Alec Yoder, Steven Nedorozic. Some of these guys were on the Olympic team last year, and he just forgot to talk about them. And then, of course, we had Blake's P-Bars. Yeah, he was my first pick overall. He came out, he fell on his peach half, and just did not look good from the start. He only posted a 5-7 difficulty with a 5-7 execution, so he didn't get that difficulty bonus, and execution was just not there.
Yeah, anytime you see an athlete with the same execution scores or difficulty, you know it's not a good routine.
Not at all.
We saw Paul Judah could not make it for day one due to travel constraints, like with all the weather issues going around Texas. But he was there for day two, and he did the all-around, and he would have placed second if he was there on day one and posted the same exact scores. Then Paul Judah would have actually came in second, only 1/10 behind Vitaly Guimaraes.
Yeah, we saw Yule actually come out and compete a double-double laid out off rings, which is just very impressive to see. So on day two, we saw Alex Diab come out and compete his blank, which is a front handspring with a double pike off the vault. So in total, about 3 flips there. And ironically, on day one, he actually missed his Roche, which is a handspring double tuck. So you'd think the double tuck would be easier, but regardless, a very impressive vault from Alex Diab. And then we also saw Jack Freeman from Oklahoma come out and post a 9-1 execution on day two. And I think he scored a 14-5, so...
Yeah, massive score there for Jack Freeman. He's really just continuing the trend of OU guys coming out and having low difficulty and staying clean. But then we also saw Yule, as I mentioned earlier, he only did double full on day one on vault. But then on day two, he did the cause 1.5, 2.5 twists. He actually ended up sticking it. But I thought his execution score was pretty low for that vault that he did.
He's always scored notoriously low in his execution for his vaults. So.
Yeah.
Now, as we can see here, these are the final scores. I lost.
Oh, yep, I came out in front in our little battle we had. I posted 82-4 to James's 81-4-5 in our picks we had. Some of my best picks was probably Asher's vault, 14-9. Curran hit his P-bars, get a 15-1-5. Huge scores there. It's really a shame they didn't show Curran's P-bars as well as Coy's Pommel with a 14-7 right there.
Yeah. I just wish Blake hadn't fallen. As we can see here, as I mentioned earlier, Blake soon posted a 5-7 difficulty with a 5-7 execution when he was my first overall pick. The meet just didn't start off well. But then I had Paul Judah come out and post a 14-2 on high bar, which I was very happy with. I will take that any day of the week. And then Yule came out. He posted a 6-1 difficulty on the pommel horse, but he did fall, which set him back a little bit. But he still had a really, if he doesn't fall, that's a really good set. But I thought I could trust him, but he came out and he fell, and I don't know. Didn't work out well.
So yeah, we saw Paul Judah. We didn't see him on day one, but I still allowed James to use him for his day two score. He ended up having a 9-0 execution with a 5-2 start value, leaving with a 14-2. So definitely a really solid pick there from James. It's one of the higher high bar scores throughout the entire weekend.
That's why I picked him. It was a nice safe pick there. You went with Yule, who had the risk, but Yule ended up falling.
This is true. So the high risk high reward. It didn't pay out for Yule's high bar, but it did pay out for me in the end as I took the lead.
That's true.
My first two picks were actually Alex Diab, Asher Hong, and Riley Lewis on their respective events. I picked Alex Diab on the rings. With the bonus, ended up with a 14-4-4-5. But me and James didn't use the bonuses, so we ended up with about a 13-5-ish. He had a 6-2 difficulty, which is solid, but Diab's 7-3-5 execution was a little lower than I anticipated. Then Asher Hong had an amazing vault. Yanniker, as it's called, or the Kazamatsu 2.5, which is 3.5 twists. Has a 6-0 start value, 8-9 execution there for Asher, with 1.7 in bonuses, which is just ridiculous. So that's one of the biggest reasons why we didn't want to include the bonuses in our scores. And then Riley Lewis ended up with a pretty solid floor score with a 12-7, a little lower because he fell on his triple full dismount, but still a pretty solid score there for Riley on the floor.
Here are my next 3 picks. I had Curran Phillips on the vault. He came out, he did his thing. Very clean Yurchenko 2.5 twist. Came out, posted a 9-5 execution score. Got a 14-7, so I will happily take that. That's actually only 2/10 behind Asher's score with his vault there.
Yeah.
And then I had Vitaly on the floor. He came out, did his thing, nice safe score, 14-2-5. And then I had Riley on the rings, and he posted a 13-6, which isn't bad, but the execution was just a little bit lower than I had hoped for. But it was still a solid set from Riley, and I'm very happy with that.
So yeah, then my next 2 picks was Yul Modower on the high bar, which James mentioned earlier. I'm only ended up with a 6-3 execution score because he did fall off, and that's just going back to the being able to trust Yul on the pommel horse and the high bar. But then I had Curran Phillips on the P-bars, posted a massive score, 6.7 start value, gave him the 1.193 bonus, almost 1.2 in bonus. It's just also ridiculous. It's similar to Asher's vault. And also 8.45 execution, so a very solid P-bar set there from Curran. So then Coy Young on the pommel horse ended up with a 6-2 start value. So we talked about in the preview the different pommel horse sets he has, but he did go for the 6-2 start value I mean, it ended up not even having bad execution score at all with 8-5 on Pommel Horse. That's a very respectable score.
That was a great pick, Aiden. This has been the Winter Cup recap. Unfortunately, we're out of time, and unfortunately, my team lost, but I'm not going to get back into that. Just tune in later this week for our Week 9 parallel preview of NCAA Men's Gymnastics.